Good afternoon. I'm Cheryl Johnson Odom. As Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs, it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you to the annual Dominican University Academic Convocation. As many of you know, it has been our tradition to gather as a community early in the new academic year to reaffirm, as trustees, sisters, faculty, staff, students, and guests, our shared commitments to academic excellence, social justice, and Caritas at Veritas. For a fifth consecutive year, an extraordinary symposium has given us an opportunity to renew this tradition. This convocation, then, serves as a fitting culmination to a day of deep reflection, thought-provoking dialogue about the continuing, in fact, deepening relevance of Caritas and Veritas for us and for our world in the 21st century. Today is also a rare opportunity to pause, step back, take stock, and celebrate together as the kind of authentically engaged learning community we aspire to be. Thank you all for embracing this opportunity and for joining us this afternoon. Sarah Scheller, class of 2015, will deliver our invocation. Originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Sarah is a senior majoring in nutrition with a minor in journalism. She hopes to combine her passion for food with her desire to serve others and pursue a career as a community nutritionist. Sarah tutors nutrition students and is also the managing editor for the Dominican Star newspaper. Her goal is to educate children and young adults and inspire people of all ages to live a healthy, balanced life. Please stand for the convocation.
Let us pray. O Lord, creator of all things, thank you for the gift of this day, where we came together as a Dominican community to ponder, inquire, learn, grow, and teach. Thank you for those who have come before us in Caritas and Veritas and shared the Dominican message. We pray that you would enable us to follow the pathway forged by the Sinsinawa Dominican sisters, a pathway of truth, justice, and love. Give us wisdom to discern truth. Help us to live compassionately in service to our neighbors, living by your example and loving all that you have created. Grant us courage to advocate for the voices in the world that are silenced by injustice. We pray for peace throughout the world, especially for an end to the violence in the Middle East. Help the governments of the world to show compassion and demand justice as they work together to end this genocide. We thank you for the gift of education. Help us to value this gift and use it to the best of our abilities. Give us strength and focus as we embark on another year of study and growth, confident that you are guiding and protecting us on this journey. Grateful for all you have given us, we pray in your name. Amen.
Please be seated. It is now my privilege to introduce to you Donna Carroll, who is serving her 21st year as president of Dominican University.
Colleagues, students, friends, good afternoon. What a powerful day we've experienced together. I'm deeply grateful for every thought expressed, talent shared, and heart extended. Clearly, the teachings of Founding Father Samuel Mazzucchelli, OP, inspire us still, even as we recognize the 150th anniversary of his death. Mazzucchelli once said, "To have nothing going on is death to me. It is my essence to undertake something." Dominican University, too, is destined always to be undertaking something and to be defining that next something. And that's the purpose of my remarks today, laced with the wisdom of Samuel. But first, a few moments of celebration. This fall, the university achieved 100% of its overall new student headcount, 100% of its total student headcount, and 100% of its total credit hour headcount, as well as 100% of its resident student goal. In other words, We got straight A's with a demanding schedule. My congratulations to everyone involved in this stunning achievement, and especially to our 3,498 students. There are also a number of campus accomplishments that deserve special mention. The successful launch of the new BSN, the redesign of the honors program with more to come, the establishment of the Latino Ministry Leadership Program, AACSB accreditation in the Brennan School of Business, $3.4 million in new scholarship support, the appointment of Dominican's first Chief Diversity Officer, the renovation and rededication of the University Grotto, exceeding $30 million in university endowment, and the fact that Dominican once again was recognized as a best value among Midwest universities. Providence will provide everything in due time, so said Samuel about the next something. Donna, on the other hand, always feels that Providence needs a little nudge. To that end, there are 10 operating priorities that will focus university planning in the year ahead. They fall into 3 categories: culminating, ongoing, and new. We are in the home stretch of the university's self-study process for reaccreditation by the Higher Learning Commission. That site visit is March 23rd and 24th of 2015, so say a prayer. Also targeted for completion this year is Dominican's plan for the reconfiguration of the Priory campus. That involves organizational restructuring, program integration, an expanded vision for the health sciences, and more, with final recommendations presented to the board in April of 2015. Just recently, the university contracted with Simpson, a compensation consulting firm, to help administration and faculty develop a multi-year faculty and staff compensation plan, also to be approved by the board next spring. In the meantime, we are working on 4 continuing major initiatives: the implementation of year 2 of the technology plan, the identification of outcomes for diversity planning, the finalization of the program and design for the new student commons, and the continuing implementation of the quiet phase of the capital campaign, with an eye to $15 million in 2015. It's a perfect t-shirt, 15 for 15. There are also 3 new or relatively new initiatives on our plate. Thanks to the masterful work of the Bridge to Career Task Force, a comprehensive plan to support student career readiness is in place. This year, our focus is on implementation. Also a priority, now that enrollment is stabilizing, is getting back to a multi-year enrollment planning process. A new academic council committee will more fully engage faculty in this strategic planning process, and a new board committee will provide oversight for both enrollment and student outcomes. And finally, speaking of governance, this year the university will begin to assess and revitalize other governing structures, like the reconfiguration of the planning committee itself, focusing on efficiency, clarity, and engagement. It is an extraordinary time for higher education, as we are all well aware. The shifts in landscape are seismic, driven by economics, technology, and changing demographics. In some cases, our fundamental value proposition is questioned, and everything is measured, tweeted, and sometimes too rapidly consumed. Dominican University has been amazingly resilient amidst all of this change, in large part because we have a dynamic academic community animated by the constancy of a vital mission, as today's symposium so clearly demonstrated. Mazzucchelli said, "Let us wake up then, open our eyes in apostolic charity, and if we are called, set out for any place where the work is great and difficult." He also said, In every blessing of which we are a part, in every comfort that we enjoy, we experience fresh instances of God's liberality. It is that understanding of sacrifice and gift, charity and truth, that is so self-renewing and defining of our character as a university. And it is our character, grounded in community, that is so distinctly and proudly Dominican. Again, my congratulations for another extraordinary symposium, and my best wishes for a successful and fulfilling academic year. Thank you.
Thank you, President Carroll. Dr. Claire Noonan, Vice President for Mission and Ministry, will introduce Dominican's young Mazzucchelli models.
As Donna has just said, 2014 marks the 150th year since the death of Father Samuel Mazzucchelli, Order of Preachers, who founded the community of Dominican Sisters of Sinsinawa, who in turn founded Dominican University. Samuel, as you know, as Donna just said, was called to set out for any place where the work is great and difficult. He was a teacher, a civic leader, an architect, a pastor, an itinerant preacher, and more. This commemorative year has been one not only of looking back at Father Samuel's extraordinary achievements, but also of savoring our own moment in time, of taking the opportunity to see his remarkable legacy at work amongst us in the present. In that spirit, this afternoon, we honor 6 of our recent graduates, alumni representing each of the university schools who exemplify Father Samuel's character. We have named them young Mazzucchelli models, and they are men and women of intellectual curiosity and visionary leadership, courageous in pursuit of mission, who have already, early in their careers, made an impact in civil society. I ask you to please hold your applause until all have been introduced and are standing. They are, from the Rosary College of Arts and Sciences, Hedy Belkawi, a former Mulroy Award winner who has made his mission to educate children in inner-city America as well as rural Cambodia. After graduating, Hedy taught at Providence St. Mel High School in Chicago's Garfield Park and served as the Dean of Students at Providence Englewood Charter School. Based on his success with the Providence schools, he was recruited by the Pritzker Foundation as the first principal of the J. Pritzker Academy in Cambodia. He is now serving as principal of Young Scholars Kenderton Charter School in inner-city Philadelphia, where he is focused on closing the achievement gap for low-income students. From the Graduate School of Library and Information Science, Allison Shine, who is manager of the Studs Terkel Radio Archive at WFMT Radio Network, is sharing this iconic Chicago figure's work with schools through the Chicago area while inspiring children to create their own oral histories and become involved in their communities. From the Brennan School of Business, Roberto Sepulveda, who has focused his career on bringing to the table the perspectives of diverse constituents. He has managed diversity initiatives in several Fortune 500 companies, including Kraft Foods and Sara Lee, and is currently manager of diversity and inclusion at United Stationers. He also serves on diversity committees at Triton College and Fenwick High School, where he advocates for diversity within the educational system. From the School of Education, Julie Bray, a former Golden Apple Scholar who is dedicated to working with those children who often fall through the cracks of the educational system. She has worked with children with behavioral and learning challenges at a school on Chicago's West Side and as a special education coordinator at a middle school in Berwyn. She is currently teaching as part of the special education staff at her alma mater, Fenton High School in Bensonville, where she impresses upon her students the importance of giving back to their community. From the Graduate School of Social Work, Allie Moore, who has spent significant time in Tanzania working with youth around issues of gender equality and reproductive health. While serving an internship in Dar es Salaam, she developed a gender empowerment group for youth, which particularly focused on transforming men's attitudes about gender-based violence. She is now working with the University of New Mexico Medical Group's HIV clinic and as a case manager at a high-risk school. She also serves as a mentor to students like herself who want to do international service. From the School of Professional and Continuing Studies, Vince Zaprazil, who has held leadership positions in several diverse parishes and has supported families at every stage of the life cycle, from directing children's choirs to offering pastoral care to the elderly and sick. He has also taught in Dominican's Department of Theology and Pastoral Ministry, continuing to inspire the next generation of church leaders. Dominican University is proud to honor these leaders and trailblazers. Each of them is dedicated to carrying on the legacy of Father Samuel Mazzucchelli. And now Dr. Jeffrey Carlson, as Dean of Rosary College of Arts and Sciences, will present Hedy Belkawi with the engraved candle holder each recipient will receive immediately following this convocation. Hedy will accept the award and speak on behalf of his fellow Mazzucchelli models.
My sincerest thanks to President Carroll, Dean Carlson, the faculty, staff, alumni, students, and friends of Dominican to be able to acknowledge this honor on behalf of all the young Mazzucchelli models. However you evaluate our respective accomplishments, none of us would be here without your guidance throughout our academic formation. It is clear that my own contributions as an undergraduate and my post-Dominican career are not in the same league as Father Samuel, and in fact, I'm certain that some of my rebelliousness as an undergrad would have met with his great disapproval. However, it did not take very long after I graduated and began what has turned out to be a very challenging career in urban education that I was better able to understand Father Samuel's teachings and begin to live the mission. All of us who are products of a Dominican education are shaped by this legacy. Father Samuel's outreach to indigenous people in Wisconsin, his public opposition to slavery, and his tireless work to promote education among immigrant settlers, including women, direct all of us in whatever ways we can to pursue truth, to give compassion and service, and to participate in the creation of a more just and humane world. And while it might be considered a bit heretical to say, this hasn't happened through divine intervention alone, but through the intentional efforts of the Dominican faculty. When I look at the amazing changes that has taken place here over the past decade, I must also acknowledge that what has remained the same and has been in place since our founding in 1902 is the faculty. They are the heart and soul of this institution. They model the dedication, the intellectual rigor, and the commitment that constitutes the direct link between us and Father Samuel. What I do today, I could have never accomplished without them. Can we give them a big round of applause? I am working with low-income students in the heart of North Philadelphia, in a school that recently as 2013 was ranked as the worst performing in that city. Today it's highly functional, with demonstrable gains in reading and math. We've gone from what was a year ago a building in lockdown chaos to a place that today is safe, where students want to come and where parents are now welcome and express a high degree of satisfaction. While no one here at Dominican taught me exactly how to do this, they taught me that I could. I imagine that each of these Mazzucchelli models have similar stories. I will be eager to hear how Father Samuel's legacy continues in the years to come, and the stories current Dominican students will be sharing in the future about their own life journeys. I call on those of you coming after us to heed Father Samuel's words that I think a few of us have said already. If we are called, set out for any place where the work is great and difficult. On behalf of the Dominican's inaugural Young Mazzucchelli Models, we humbly accept this award and thank you for the opportunities you have bequeathed to us and the possibilities that lie ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Hetty, and thank you all for being such wonderful graduates who model Dominican's mission so well. I am now pleased to introduce my colleagues, Dr. Cristina Perez and John D. Costanza, and alumna Fanny Lopez of the class of 2011, to present the 2014 Sister Mary Clemente Davlin Diversity Leadership Award. Dr. Cristina Perez currently serves as the Interim Chief Diversity Officer and as Associate Professor of Sociology. She was the 2012 recipient of the Davlin Diversity Leadership Award. John D. Costanza, Director of University Ministry, chairs the Committee on Climate Equity and Inclusion. Alumna Fanny Lopez is currently a research project manager at the University of Chicago. She graduated from the University of Chicago Harris School in 2013 with a master's degree in public policy. During her years at Dominican University, Fanny was an undocumented student who courageously came out of the shadows publicly and advocated for other undocumented students on campus and in her community. And I see they have already all stepped forward.
On behalf of this year's selection committee, it is our privilege to present an award named in honor of one of our most beloved and esteemed colleagues, Sister Mary Clemente Davlin, Professor of English Emerita, and passionate advocate and activist for a more just and humane world. Each year since 2003, through the Sister Mary Clemente Davlin Diversity Leadership Award, Dominican has celebrated the work of an individual who has helped the university community truly engage difference and promote justice in sustained, visible, creative, and transformative ways. Past recipients include Robbie Birdsong Wright, Mark White, Janice Monty, Madonna Thalen, Hugh McElwain, Krista Hansen, Cristina Perez, and in 2013, Kathy Heskin. The recipient of the 2014 Sister Clemente Davlin Diversity Leadership Award is President Donna Carroll. Donna, please join us. Fanny Lopez will read the citation.
I'm sorry, this is a very emotional moment for me to be here and give you this award. I stand before you today in part because President Carroll made a decision to support undocumented students when she had a conversation with a student on a bike in a snowstorm. As she noted in a recent interview published by Catholic News Service, it was the right thing to do. Both the ride and the conversation were indeed the right thing to do and began nationally profiled work to bring visibility to the challenges faced by undocumented students in higher education. President Carroll was selected to receive the Davlin Diversity Leadership Award because of her sustained and broadening efforts to bring this community in greater alignment with Caritas and Veritas through justice advocacy. Her campaign to publicly support undocumented students has shaped the university's moral imperative to not only provide hospitality and support for alternatively documented students, but to truly create a safe space on campus. In the words of Father Samuel Mazzucchelli, make school as much like home as possible. As she tells it began with a moment of dialogue with undocumented students like me. Moving the conversation into the public square took courage. It carried us to this moment, and it will carry us beyond it. It was truly revolutionary. President Carroll has exercised leadership through listening. She listened to my story and the stories of other students like me, and then she did something about it. She encouraged collaboration and the study of our context to deeply transform the institution through diversity initiatives that have gained great momentum in recent years. As her recommenders noted in their nomination, Dana identified and brought together a group of students, faculty, and staff from across the university and empowered them to be protagonists for diversity leadership. There is perhaps no greater measure of diversity leadership than the empowerment of others, people like me, to find their own voice and lead from their experience. It is one of the greatest of Sister Clem's legacies. President Dana Carroll, for your willingness to lead, to encourage others to lead, and for your willingness to embrace a vision of diversity that does contribute to a more just and humane world, Dominican University is proud to present you with the 2014 Sister Clemente Dublin Diversity Leadership Award.
Thank you. I feel a bit like a photographer caught in front of her camera. I'm embarrassed, but I'm deeply grateful for the recognition. My gratitude is complex. To be associated with the goodness and the conviction of Clemente Dublin is, of course, stunning and humbling. And I am truly delighted to be viewed as a catalyst for good work. This award is actually a celebration of institutional accomplishment embodied by the president. And so I'm grateful for the leadership of David Krause, Christina Perez, John DeCostanza, Gil Cook, Katie Kramer, and so many others, not to mention the relentless mentorship of Janice Monti. I am also grateful to the Dominican students who staged the 2012 student blackout because they got my attention, changed my perspective, and trusted in my leadership. I share this award, as you know, with a number of undocumented students whose stories touched my heart and shifted the trajectory of my presidency, including Fanny Lopez, David Ramirez, Edgar Torres, and Ariana Salgado. Their courage enabled my public voice, encouraged my public voice. And I am so deeply grateful to be part of a university community in which such extreme advocacy is not only accepted, but applauded. You do know how unusual it is in this day and age for faculty and staff to recognize a president as you recognize me today, at least while I'm alive. The fact that we have such a solid partnership is a special gift, and I am deeply grateful for the respect and affection that accompany it. This is a transforming time for higher education. It is not a matter of if, but rather how a university community chooses to change. I am more and more convinced that the collaborative capacity building work that Dominican University is doing in the pursuit of a more just and humane campus is best practice, with the potential to be a model for other universities. That we are on this journey together makes me terribly, terribly proud. Thank you. The Dominican University community is committed to developing in its students intellectual vitality, moral alertness, aesthetic sensibility, and a sense of social justice and responsibility. In recognition of this goal, in 2001, Dominican University commissioned the Bradford O'Neill Medallion for Social Justice, named in honor of Sister Vincent Farah Bradford and Sister Thomas Aquinas O'Neill, two pioneering Cincinnati Dominican sisters. Medallion recipients are local, national, or international figures or organizations whose lives and work have contributed significantly to the creation of a more just and humane world. The 2014 Bradford O'Neill Medallion is presented to Ana Garcia Ashley. Ana, would you please step forward? Truman Durr, currently pursuing his master's degree in the Graduate School of Social Work, will read the citation. Truman, who exchanged the sun and blue skies of San Pedro, California, for the polar vortex of River Forest, exemplifies the kind of engaged learner and activist we strive to educate and empower at Dominican. His professors and mentors praise his willingness to jump in with both feet, whether in the classroom or the community, and they expect him to continue to make a profound difference in the world as an agent of social change. Truman spent last year working with Austin Coming Together on Chicago's West Side in their youth development program. This fall, he is preparing for an international field placement in Ireland in January 2015. He is a vital member of GSSW Student Association. Truman.
Ana Garcia Ashley's introduction to community organizing came from a fearless role model, her devoutly Catholic grandmother. When Ana was just a small child growing up in a village in the Dominican Republic, her grandmother got fed up with the steady stream of traffic that prevented children from playing in the dirt roads near their homes. Taking matters into her own hands, she organized a human chain to block traffic on the road. When defiantly standing with her neighbors, Ana's grandmother looked down at Ana and said, "This is what it means to be Catholic." Her first foray into activism was an immediate success, and Ana was hooked. She has since translated her commitment to Catholic social teaching into a lifetime of advocacy for the most marginalized members of society. After graduating from the University of Colorado, Ana became a community organizer for the Archdiocese of Denver, where she led an effort to replace faulty drainage pipes that for years had caused excessive flooding in the streets of low-income neighborhoods. To get the attention of politicians, she led a coalition of neighbors to City Hall in muddy boots and shoes, where they tracked dirt all the way to the mayor's office. Soon after their protests, the city found $80,000 for new street pipes. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in the early 1980s, Ana led a successful campaign to change the lending practices of banks, many of whom were unfairly denying mortgages to the Hispanics and African Americans. Working with socially conscious retired bankers, she and her coalition conducted a detailed assessment of 17 lending institutions and presented their evidence to a group of bankers, one of whom incredulously asked, "Who are you people?" She and her people extracted an agreement to provide $500 million in loans, which resulted in 7,000 new low-income neighborhoods. Today, Ana is an executive director of the Gamaliel Foundation, a faith-based national community organizing network, perhaps most commonly known as the organization in which President Barack Obama got his start as a community organizer in the 1980s. The Gamaliel Foundation now includes 62 nonpartisan organizations in 19 U.S. states, as well as South Africa and the United Kingdom. The foundation develops grassroots strategies for the impacting national policies on issues such as comprehensive immigration reform, national health care, and equal access to public transportation systems. Throughout her life, Ana has used her Catholic faith to speak out courageously against the injustices she sees in the world. After more than 30 decades as a righteous thorn in the side of unbridled authority, Anna has claimed that her vocation has a divine purpose, a claim which would undoubtedly be met with her grandmother's approval.
In recognition of your commitment to harnessing the power that people have when they work together for the common good, Dominican University is proud to present you, Ana Garcia Ashley, with the 2014 Bradford O'Neill Medallion for Social Justice.
I think I need to leave one of these pages over there because his introduction said it all. You know, my grandmother would be proud. Boy, this is amazing. It's just amazing to be. The whole day here has been amazing, and I have to say that before I heard about this award, I did not know about Dominican University. And now, when I read about it, that it started for immigrant women, I'm like, it was started for me. You work as social justice. I said, this is all about me. And so I was just so proud to be part of being here. And I was asked to give remarks, to send remarks ahead of time. And I'm like, I'm an organizer. I don't write speeches. I don't give speeches. I train and I agitate. So I sent the remarks, and I said, you know, I read all that I could on the plane and on the trains between Long Island and New York, and going to Atlanta and training in Chicago and back home to Wisconsin. I read all I could about you guys, and I was like, oh my God, this is scary. And one of the stated main thing that I read was about how this is the main goal is to make people feel at home. And I came here today, and let me tell you, as a fourth-generation Catholic and a Dominican, I was right at home. From the front door, where they were waiting for you, to me making a lot of noises in front of the president's office. I didn't know it was an office. President Carroll. It was hugs and amazing and challenging being part of this, just the whole day here. So I definitely know where you are, and I'm coming back. So. I have to say that I'm still not quite sure after I read, and I'm quite sure why you want to give this honor, this amazing honor, this medallion, to somebody who probably been arrested more than 10 times just in the last year. I mean, sometimes that's even hard to explain it to my mother, and she loves me. I was arrested in Pittsburgh at the UPMC for the workers, fighting for the workers' rights there. When you have a CEO there making $50 million, and he can't see it in his heart to pay $10 an hour to people. Thank you, yeah. And I know that thank you so much, Truman, for writing what, I think my mother would have loved that, to hear that. But the fact of the matter is that, I was arrested because, quite honestly, our former Gamelio organizer had become the deporter-in-chief. So the first time I was arrested at the White House was because they had hit 1 million people have been deported. 1 million families have been broken. And so I saw it with many others, religious leaders, to go to the White House and say that that's not right. That's not just. We have to stop the deportation. Now, you have heard all about Gamelio, and what I really want to talk about a little bit briefly is about some of you know that we have to keep putting pressure on this president to live up to his promise of doing a executive order to stop deportation and to help our dreamers, right? To help our dreamers. So we have to keep putting pressure, and we have to keep pushing. But one of the things that I wanted to take my 9.5 minutes, and I wanted to thank all of the people, Francis and Claire, and there's so many, but I don't want to use my 9.5 minutes because so I thank you all. Because I want to use a little bit of the times that I have here really to talk about where Gamaliel is going and where I am passionate. And I'm passionate, of course, like our new Pope, about really getting an encyclical on the preferential option for the earth. That there's not thank you. So I just came from Union Theological Seminary, and I was sitting there with some of the theologians that are going to be working with Pope Francis on this, and this is just amazing. I'm really passionate how we need to understand how climate is hurting the poor. And as Catholic, it's very important that we stand in front, and we have a preferential option for the poor. We need a preferential option for the earth. So it's very important. But what I want to talk about is that how the immigration issue, as it was spoken in earlier, I was in a workshop, in a session that was amazing, immigration, and we understand what's going on with immigration, and we've been fighting, and we are aware. But I like to say to you that what immigration and Ferguson are two sides of the same coin. And I don't know if you agree with me, and of course I already got my medal. I'm going to take it. You can't take it back. But the work that we are doing is really about fighting structural racism. And I don't want anybody to fall asleep on this. We need to fight structural racism. And I believe that it's not, and I want to make it clear what I mean by that, because I know there's a bunch of academic behind me. And I know this school got straight A's. By the way, I didn't hear you clap. When somebody stand up in my house say they got straight A's, we go crazy. So congratulations. Is that I don't want you, I'm not talking about prejudice. I'm not talking about individual bias or how you judge individuals. I'm talking about what Professor Powell talks about is about not making available in this country, the opportunities are not available to everyone. Equity is not available to everyone. We're talking about structure racism. And that is what we need to fight. I don't know if you read, everybody's been on Ferguson. I don't know if you read the fact that in Ferguson, a small place of 21,000 people, the second source of revenues, over $287,000 was giving people tickets for driving without insurance. That's just one of the systems that oppress in our community. Why do you think we drive without insurance? Hello? As they used to say back in the South Bronx, we ain't got no money, right? So this is one of the systems that we need to address. And I think how, my whole call for Gamaliel, and my whole call, I'm the first woman, immigrant, person of color to run any one of these networks. And I feel I have a great board director, and how important they are, and they really support me. So for the time that I'm still have this job and this title, because I know the tension between the organizations and the things that I do, I really believe that the way that we can deal with this is by the fact that we have to talk about structural racism. We have to talk about racism. We have to come together. Earlier in one of the sessions, somebody said, well, the chief of police from Boston is a good Catholic and has good morals, so why is it that he can support immigration reform? And I asked Bill, I don't know what Bill is. He's over there probably wearing a fancy robe down there. But I asked Bill, I said, do you think racism has anything to do with this? In Gamaliel, we want to talk about and we want to take action and we want to make sure that at all of our issues, we know that this is something we have to dismantle in our work. This is something that we have to do in our work. And I don't know about you, but I am very committed that we must dismantle the fact that some people have more than their fair shares of privileges. And others have more of their fair shares of punishment. And we need to address that. We need to address that as a community because I think that that is what we are being called to do. We get called to do what? To go to places where it's difficult. And race in America is difficult. So I'm glad to be here at Dominican University where you take on the difficult. You know, we just had a session at Lady of the Snows. We were doing training, had 140 people, and we all got to talking, asking people, when was the first time that you became conscious about race? And this young black woman got up and she says, I live in a mostly white community. And one day I was sitting, laying on my big red wagon, and my mother comes out and said, what are you doing? And I say, I'm staying, just laying here, And her mother says, get in the house. What's the message? You're black. What you doing suntanning, right? So our children know it. They experience this, right? So this is not a secret. We need to talk about racism. Now, I am an organizer, and with the 2 seconds that I have, right? I have two seconds that I have. I want to do a call to action. So I want to make sure that I get it right, because I totally, this is one of the things that I'm proud of, is the fact that as people of faith, we have a long tradition of working with justice, but much is expected of us, right? Much is expected of us. And we are expected to deliver as people of faith. It's expected to deliver. We're expected to be courageous, to take risks. Of course, my husband sometimes say, why do you have to take all the risks? But it's because I'm a Catholic. I'm a cultural Catholic. I'm a Dominican York Catholic, right? But I want to call on you because I know you've been chilling over there. And I want to call on you and just say, let me see what you have to say about this. Are you ready? Are you ready to speak when no one else speaks? Yes. I don't hear you. Okay. Pray loud when no one else does. Yes. Man, this is cool. Yay! And especially to take action when no one else does. Yes. Okay. So let's get out there. Let's get ready to take action. I'll get arrested 10 more times. And maybe you have just another way to invite me here. So thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Anna, for being a doer as well as a thinker, and for stepping up not just to the line, but to cross the line to make a more just and humane world. So, thank you. Today's Caritas Veritas Symposium has not been designed as an end in itself. Rather, all the presentations and panels have intended to reignite campus-wide reflection, dialogue, and action, grounded in a deeper understanding and exploration of our core values. All of us now share responsibility to sustain and extend our reflection, conversation, and activism throughout the academic year and beyond. We especially want to encourage all Dominican students, both undergraduate and graduate, to to remind each other and your teachers of what matters most to you, both within classrooms, but also within your communities. Challenge us to challenge and support you in your explorations and discoveries. Look for new ways to become or continue to be truly engaged in the life of the mind and the spirit. Consider submitting some of your best written work to The Constellation, a journal for undergraduate research that has a name Father Mazzucchelli, who was a gifted astronomer, would have appreciated. Or get involved in any campus organization related to your personal gifts, values, and passions. Today has been a reminder to risk contemplation, conversation, and action in whatever context is most meaningful to you.
Before we conclude this convocation, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge all the students present, especially those who are beginning their studies at Dominican this year, and all those students who will complete their studies at Dominican this year. We bless them as they pursue their futures, and we wish them vision and courage as they discern their personal call to participate in the creation of a more just and humane world. Please join me in acknowledging our students.
Please rise as we join together with Sue Kaczynski to sing our alma mater, so proudly Dominican. Immediately following the alma mater, please remain standing for the benediction offered by Father Michael DeTemple, University Chaplain. Thank you all for your engagement throughout today's Caritas Veritas Symposium. May this week's communal pause from the routines of university business as usual inspire us all to renew our shared commitment to becoming active agents in the process of creating a more just and humane world, and not merely passive inhabitants of the world as it is. After the benediction, please remain in your seats until the stage party and faculty have exited the auditorium. And now, our alma mater.
Let us pray. God of all wisdom and love, we praise and thank you for our Dominican community in all its diversity and creativity. We have spent this day in dialogue, seeking to grow in truth, revealed to us in words and songs, in dance and poetry, in literature and art, in photography, improvisation, and the sisters' flash mob, and in the prophetic voice we just heard. We rejoice that we have been nourished and blessed by the insights shared among us, the fruit of study and research in so many places and on service trips across our country and in many other parts of the world. Give us insight and courage as we struggle with the dynamics of diversity in our community of unique and gifted individuals. Strengthen our resolve to grow in true freedom and equality, and to embrace each other as sisters and brothers, working to overcome all alienation, discrimination, and injustice in our midst. Bless our decisions and actions to build bridges of acceptance, hospitality, compassion, and empathy on campus. We ask your blessing, loving and compassionate God, for you are the source of life that delights us, of love that unites us, of beauty that inspires us, and of truth that enlightens us now and forever. Amen.